Hey everybody, Keenan Phillips here, back with another TT School video. So for today's lesson, we're going to cover the topic of taper tip iron shafts, parallel tip iron shafts, why there's two, pros and cons of both, what they mean. So hopefully after this video, you'll have a better understanding. So when talking about taper tip iron shafts and parallel tip iron shafts, to start, the first thing to think about is obviously the name taper tip and parallel tip. So think about the tip section of a golf shaft. Taper tip shafts are going to taper all the way down to an outer diameter in the tip section at 355. So if you see something labeled as a 355 tip iron shaft, it's a taper tip product. Whereas parallel tip shafts, or in that tip section, going to be parallel. So they're not going to taper at all. And they're going to be 370 is going to be the outer diameter for those. So if you see something labeled as a 370 tip diameter iron shaft, no, that's parallel. So now you know the tip differences of taper and parallel. Let's dive a little under the hood at what else is going on between those two. So for taper tip products, you're going to have shafts that are discrete length. So you're gonna have a 9 iron shaft, 8 iron shaft, 7 iron shaft that are all individually designed for a specific club head. And now since each shaft is individually designed, we also design each shaft to a specific weight. Now most of the times with the taper tip set, you're gonna see a constant weight design. So you're gonna have like a 4 iron and a pitching wedge be the same weight, but we can also do cool things like an ascending mass set, so our AMT set, ascending mass technology, where each shaft actually gets progressively lighter as it gets longer, and all those are designed to kind of flow throughout the set. So really cool things we can do there from a taper tip side of things. And then for parallel tip iron shafts, you're going to have a blank. So basically it's a steel or graphite blank between 40 and 41 inches. It's gonna have that parallel tip on it, that 370 tip of a certain length depending on the design of a specific shaft. And each shaft that's parallel tip is gonna have trimming instructions that are given to it. So it's gonna be different depending on the shaft model. So those trimming instructions are going to tell you how much to trim off the tip section to create a specific shaft that say goes in a 9 iron or 8 iron or 7 iron. So you're creating those different shafts from different tip trimming instructions and then butt trimming those to length. So with that said, when coming from the same blank, you're going to actually have a descending weight transition there. So your 4 iron is going to be heavier than your 5 iron shaft, which is going to be heavier than your 6 iron shaft, and so on. So you might be thinking, well, I don't want descending weight, and I get it. I wouldn't recommend descending weight for a lot of players. But the perks of parallel tip where they really come into play are from the customization standpoint. So with that ability from an expert fitter from say our rifle shaft, for instance, to tip it a certain way for a specific player to create a specific bend profile and flex, that's huge. That's a unique shaft from that standpoint. So parallel tip shafts can be tipped a certain way to create say a flighted set or a hard step, soft step set, just whatever the fitter really wants to do from that tipping standpoint. It just allows them a lot of freedom there. I know it's a lot of information, I know it's a lot to process, and you're probably wondering, well, what should I play though? A taper tip iron shaft or a parallel tip iron shaft? And a lot of that has to do really with what iron heads you're playing. So every iron head has a specific hosel diameter, and even depending on the manufacturer, different iron heads within their lines can have different hosel diameter sizes. So if it's 355, play a taper tip. If it's 370, you can play parallel, or you can put a shim on the end of a taper tip shaft and play that as well. So technically you could also play parallel and taper if you bore out the head or sand down the graphite, but that's beside the point. Anyway, I know that's a lot of information here coming to you at once, so hope this video made sense a little bit about taper and parallel. Hope we broke that down for you guys, and hope to see you next time.